Okay, so you know how sometimes things break, like really break, and you think
Right.
about maybe trying to piece them back together?
Yeah, like trying to glue back together a vase.
Exactly. Today, we are diving deep into rebuilding relationships. So, not just patching up little cracks, but what happens when you might need like a whole new foundation? We've got some research here about how to make those repairs really last.
Because it's possible, right, to come back from a break or a really rough patch
Yeah.
even stronger, but it definitely takes, well, a different approach than just starting from scratch.
Totally. It's like you have all this history, all these, I don't know, maybe hurts or patterns. So the first tip we found is all about time to heal, which, yeah, seems kind of obvious, but what's the research say about why that's so important?
So
Yeah.
it's like this, imagine like you cut yourself, right?
Yeah.
You don't ignore it and immediately try to run a marathon. You got to tend to that wound first.
Ouch. Yeah, that makes sense.
Same with a relationship.
Right.
Both people, they need that time to process emotions individually,
Hmm.
to sort of understand what even happened before they come back together. One of the sources, they actually said it's like trying to build a house on a shaky foundation.
Yeah.
If you haven't dealt with your own stuff, insecurities, past hurts, all that, it's just going to crumble again, no matter how pretty you make it look on the outside.
Oh, wow. That's a really good analogy. So let's say you've had some time, both people have done their own reflection. What comes next? Because I feel like that's when things can get a little, I don't know.
Messy.
Yeah, messy because you actually have to start talking.
Communication,
Yeah.
huge. This is where it gets real.
Hmm.
And not just talking, but like really listening,
Hmm.
trying to see things from the other person's perspective.
So how do you even begin to have those conversations? Because if we're talking of rebuilding, something clearly wasn't working.
Right. And this is where one of the sources talked about having what they called an autopsy of the relationship. But importantly, without the blame game.
Ooh, interesting. So figuring out what went wrong, but not pointing fingers.
Yes. It's like what led to the break? Was it communication,
Mm.
unmet needs, outside stressors? You have to uncover those root causes because if you don't, you're going to keep repeating the same patterns, making the same mistakes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But knowing what went wrong is only part of it, right? You have to
Uh,
actually change the way you interact.
100%. This is where boundaries come in.
Mm.
And that's not just about what you say, it's about what you do. What are you willing to tolerate? What are your non-negotiables? One source even called it creating a new dance for the relationship. You have to figure out the steps together. What moves are you both comfortable with? What feels safe?
I love that, the new dance. But all of that takes a lot of trust, doesn't it? And that can be so hard to rebuild.
Trust is everything.
Right.
And yeah, you're not going to go from 0 to 60 overnight. It's a process. Small steps, consistency, showing up authentically even when it's tough.
So what does that look like, practically speaking? How do you actually rebuild trust?
One study we looked at said it's those small, everyday actions that make the biggest difference. It's like remembering to call when you say you will, being fully present during conversations, apologizing sincerely when you mess up, little things that add up to something much bigger.
And I'm guessing there will be slip-ups along the way. Because, let's be honest, rebuilding a relationship is hard work.
It is. And that's where our final tip comes in.
Hit me with it.
Don't be afraid to ask for help, like professional help. Sometimes you need a neutral third party to help you navigate those tricky conversations, to
Mhm.
teach you new ways of communicating, to hold you both accountable.
Yeah, sometimes you need a guide, someone who can see the bigger picture.
Exactly. A therapist can be like a relationship coach, helping you learn new skills, break bad habits, and build a stronger foundation for the future.
So much good stuff to think about. As we wrap up, what's the one takeaway you really want listeners to walk away with today?
I would say don't expect the rebuilt version of your relationship to be identical to the one before. And that's okay. It's about taking the lessons you've learned, the good and the bad, and using them to create something even stronger, healthier, more fulfilling.
It's like you're not trying to put the pieces back together exactly as they were. You're using those pieces to create something totally new,
Love that.
something to think about.